You come to Shanghai Auto Show and you see all of the traffic at the Chinese automakers booths. The management of these European automakers also saw this. I think there's a lot of disbelief, a lot of shock, but a bit of fear. They touch, feel, see these cars and they're like, wow, we are in trouble.
In the race to become the world's largest car exporter, China is now number one. In 2023, its car exports overtook those from Japan or Germany. And most of the cars are these, electric vehicles, or EVs. China accounted for just 4.2% of global EV exports 6 years ago. By 2022, it became 35%. Japan, by contrast, was the largest exporter of EVs in 2018, with a 24.5% share. In 2022, its share plummeted to 9.3%.
My first job was at a factory in Michigan, Orion Assembly Plant, and we built 5 cars, 3 different trims, so effectively 18 different cars every day, about 500,000 cars a year. And so I was grounded in the quality, reliability, how things sounded, how things should fit together. When I first landed in Beijing in 2009, I got into a BYD and it was not great. It was pretty bad. The doors were paper thin. You could hear everything. The fit and finish of the interiors weren't great. I was in Shanghai in April and visited BYD. The difference between 2009 and today is night and day. I was at the Audi booth, and one of my favorite beautiful cars, the e-tron, the RS e-tron. And it took me less than 10 seconds to wait for somebody, and then I got in it myself. And then you go over to Zeekr, and they have just launched the Zeekr X, which is a small little car that I think is going to be less than 300,000 RMB, or less than $40,000 in the China market. I waited 10 minutes for this little car because there were so many people that wanted to see it. The management of these European automakers also saw this. They got into the vehicles themselves and then looked at the technology on the instrument panel and the infotainment system, and jaws were dropped. And they're like, wow, we are in trouble.
When it comes to clean tech cars, the world's biggest auto brands are now playing catch up.
China is the place to be. What superpower makes you a great developer? It's the ability to look around the corners. But this is not enough to be successful in China. You need to be where the big things happen. You need to team up with the fastest and smartest brains.
China is the world's most advanced country in terms of electrification.
Riding on the back of growing carbon consciousness, China's EV exports are set to double in 2023. Demand in Europe has skyrocketed in countries like Norway, where nearly 2/3 of all cars sold are EVs. With all that talk of de-risking, China's EV sales demonstrate that there are some products where made in China is still indispensable.
目前，比亚迪新能源车的足迹已经遍及全球6大洲50多个国家和地区，300多个城市。那商用车领域呢，比亚迪各类纯电动大巴在全球累计交付超过了6.8万辆。在欧洲呢，比亚迪纯电动大巴已经在欧洲的100多个城市运营。在亚太地区，我们在日本的纯电动大巴市场占有率已经高达70%，也是排名第1位的。
BYD's secret sauce has much to do with its batteries. Its Buoyed battery technology is touted to be safer and more efficient.
这一款呢，就是我们比亚迪的汉，最近也远销南美，在当地非常的受欢迎。这款车呢，承载了我们比亚迪最新的技术，包括刀片电池，0到100公里只需要3.9秒。
It wasn't always rosy for EV makers in China.
NIO, Xpeng, and Li Auto, these EV companies were set up around 2014 and 2015, and they were struggling, right? Wasn't it just in 2020 that NIO nearly went bankrupt? So how did these Chinese EV companies manage to turn around their fortunes so fast?
Pearl, you raised a great point. In 2009, the Chinese government decided that they were going to focus on the battery sector and the EV sector as sectors because the Chinese sector, manufacturing is a pillar of industry. So EV manufacturing, battery cell manufacturing, they looked at as going to be very important in the future. And they were absolutely right. So starting in 2009, they created subsidies for EV purchase. They also gave rebates for manufacturers that were building electric vehicles. And so through perseverance, through patience, through a lot of capital, forecasts say between $60 and $100 billion between 2009 and today being invested in those sectors has created what we see today. In 2023, the EV sector in China will get to about 8-9 million units from virtually zero in 2014, 2015 when NIO started. And so NIO's particular story is interesting because they really leaned into design, customer engagement, and premium in the early years. And that almost pushed them into bankruptcy if it wasn't for the Hefei government. And so the Hefei government wrote them a couple $2 billion check, and they've been able to kind of weather that storm. Now they have 6-7 products in the market.
It is no secret that government policy was crucial to the growth of Chinese EV companies.
国家政策的多年扶持的结果，应该是对私人购买的话，大概是从10年就开始。那么很长一段时间，其实销量并不是很大。但是随着这个市场就是一些条件的逐步成熟，一个新能源车的质量本身也上来了，另外一个电池的成本下去了，还有一个就是我们这个充电的设施，对吧，越来越普及了。那么这个是多方面的这个因素促成的。
But the spectacular growth of these companies is prompting other governments to push back.
We have not forgotten how China's unfair trade practices affected our solar industry. Many young businesses were pushed out by heavily subsidized Chinese competitors. Pioneering companies had to file for bankruptcies. Promising talents went searching for fortune abroad. This is why fairness in the global economy is so important, because it affects lives and livelihoods. Entire industries and communities depend on it. So we have to be clear-eyed about the risks we face. Take the electric vehicle sector. It is a crucial industry for the clean economy with a huge potential in Europe. But global markets are now flooded with cheaper Chinese electric cars. And their price is kept artificially low by huge state subsidies. This is distorting our market. So I can announce today that the Commission is launching an anti-subsidy investigation into electric vehicles coming from China. Europe is open to competition, but not for a race to the bottom. De-risk, not decouple.
这里我想强调的是，欧盟拟采取的调查措施是以公平竞争为名，行保护自身产业之实，是赤裸裸的保护主义行为，将严重扰乱和扭曲包括欧盟在内的全球汽车产业链、供应链，并将对中欧经贸关系产生负面影响。
On the same day, in what was widely seen as a retaliatory move, China announced it would slap anti-subsidy duties on the EU's potato starch imports for 5 years.
Bear in mind that the European has a huge number of cars selling in China. All the largest European automakers, China is the largest auto market. So we don't want to see a trade war happening, and we don't want to see this really impact not only Chinese companies but also European companies.
If there's any real protectionism of the European market from China EV Inc., there could be repercussions in the Chinese market for the European brands.
Yeah, because if China really wanted to hit back, they could cause a lot of hurt to European car manufacturers, the likes of Porsche, Mercedes, and BMW.
Yeah.
This is Suining in Sichuan, and all the companies on the main street of Suining work on just one product, lithium batteries. Here, they make the cells, they make the batteries, and they also recycle the batteries.